We're going crazy for berries coming up next. I'm Alan Smith. Welcome to Garden to Table. I don't know about you, but I love berries, berries of all kinds. Just look at these gorgeous strawberries. When these start coming in for me, well, it just is a symbol that summer is on its way. The warmer the temperatures and more the sun, the berries just ripen even faster. Now, some of our favorites include blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, and of course these wonderful strawberries that we see here today. Now I'm out here at Holland Bottom Farms in Cabot, Arkansas. You see, they're known throughout this region for the sweetness of their strawberries. So I decided to come out here and ask Larry Odom the secret of his success, and also pick up a few tips on growing strawberries that you may want to try at home. We'll also step into the kitchen and make this wonderful summertime refreshment and create a rustic blackberry treat. Well, as you can see, we've got a lot to cover in today's show, so let's go see if we can find Larry and get started talking about these marvelous strawberries. Larry, these are such beautiful berries, my gosh.
The berries are very good this year, okay? We're at the peak of our season, and we've got some real good weather right now. So the berries are really, really pretty today.
Well, you said that this wasn't as big a year as some years, but gosh, just look at all of them. It looks like a bumper crop to me.
Well, what you just don't see is a lot of our plants are small daughter plants last fall, and they're just not producing as much fruit as they normally do.
So Larry, what are the advantages of raising the plants up like this?
The advantage mostly for raised beds is the fact that you can have a greater production over a longer growing season with a lot less fungus problems. Mm-hmm. Fungus problems put us out of the old matted row bed.
I see.
And
well, they're hanging out there in the air where they're not congested, and the airflow, I'm sure, helps keep that fungal problem down.
It does.
And plenty of light, too.
It does. It enhances this particular plant. We can pick it 50 days normal. The old matted row about 25 days. So this particular plant is a chandler. It produces fruit a longer period of season, and it allows us to start picking earlier, and normally we can pick a little later in the season as well.
And with regard to timing, once the berries begin to ripen, you've got to get them out of the field.
Berries don't stop ripening on Sunday morning while everybody's in church. When you have fruit, you have to pick every day. They're similar to milk cows. You have to milk a cow morning and night, and same way with fruit. You have to pick these things on a continual basis from the time we start until the time season is over.
And that span of time here is about 6 weeks?
Normally about 40 to 45 days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I see.
we have picked as high as 62 days before, but that's very, very unusual. But we do shoot for about 40 to 50 days a year.
Well, it's a wonderful time of year, and lots of people look forward to it for obvious reasons.
Oh yes, I'm one of the most popular people in the world during strawberry season, and after that they don't want to see me much.
I love delicious drinks in the spring, and when our strawberries start coming in and I have lemons, well, this is a perfect combination, because what this is a strawberry lemonade recipe. Now what you want to do is you want to start with just a simple syrup. And I'm going to light the stove here, and I'm going to add 2 cups of water, all right? And then I'm adding 1.5 cups of sugar, just granulated sugar, like this. And what we're going to do is we're going to allow that just to come to a boil. And while that's going on, I'm going to take one of these lemons, and what you want is about a tablespoon of the zest of lemon. Now, I love to grow lemons. I love to grow any kind of citrus tree. You know, they can make great house plants. I keep Myers lemons around, and they're really good to have in the house, but you want to be careful. You want to make sure that you spray them, because sometimes they can get mealybugs and spider mites and that sort of thing, but using an organic spray, you can keep those little pests at bay. So don't quite have a full tablespoon yet of zest. So the zest adds a nice little bit of bite. Looks like we have just enough in there. All right, and then what I'm going to do is add a cup of lemon juice. It's already heating up nicely here, but what I've done ahead of time is gone ahead and made the same batch here, and it's cooled off. So what you want to do is allow this to come to a boil, let it stop, let it cool just as we have here, and then what I'm going to do is take the strawberries, which what we have here is a pint. I've capped these strawberries, split them in half. I'm going to put them in the food processor here, and I'm going to totally macerate them. We grow several different kinds of strawberries here at the farm. Cardinals are one of my favorites. Ozark Beauty is another one. And what's wonderful about strawberries is they make a beautiful ground cover. So under some of our fig trees, I've used them as a ground cover. And they also look good planted under other types of fruit trees, such as our espaliered pears and apples. Now you want to make sure that this gets really juicy, and these are nice juicy berries. And I'm going to knock a few of these off the top here. Some of these pieces are too big, so I'm going to push these down in here like this. And then just give it another quick whirl, because we want these really fine. There we go. That ought to be just about right. Now what I'm going to do is take this away, and what we're ready to do here is take this blend of sugar and water and lemon, and I'm going to pour it through a strainer just to catch some of that pulp. See there? We call it the pulp. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add these lovely strawberries. Just like that. Look at that color. Isn't that gorgeous? I'm going to set this aside. I want to make sure I get every bit of strawberry out of there because I love strawberries. Here we go. And then the finishing touch is to take 2 cups of sparkling water. When you're ready to serve to guests, this will give it just a little bit of fizz and sparkle. And I love to serve this on ice with a touch of fresh mint out of the garden. It's very refreshing. Give it a try.
We're going to make strawberry gelato today. Nothing is better than a strawberry in the peak of season, at its peak of ripeness from a local farmer. We're going to use incredible Arkansas strawberries. We're going to use really good quality milk and cream and sugar and egg yolk. Sometimes the simplest things are the best, and here we go. This recipe is really, really easy to make at home, and it just consists of these few delicious ingredients. We're going to start with egg yolks. So I'm going to crack 6 eggs here. Let me see if I can do this. We actually need the yolks and not the rest of it. So you just have to carefully remove the yolks from the white and the shell. They make a little contraption for this, but I like to just use my hands, clean hands. And then we're going to take these yolks. Let me wipe my hands here. And we'll mix the yolks with 1 cup of sugar. We're going to mix these in a water bath. This is just a little bit of warm, kind of barely simmering water in a bowl. So I'll put my sugar in first, and then we'll add the egg yolks on top of that, and we'll mix these together with a whisk. I like to hold the bowl with this towel so you don't burn your hand. And this is a little bit of a time-consuming process. It takes about a minute, maybe 2 minutes to warm the egg yolk. And what we're doing is we're coddling the egg yolk and cooking it just a little bit so that we don't have raw egg in the ice cream. This also helps melt the sugar. And we're just going to whisk this kind of gently over this water bath until it's warm to the touch. And this does take about maybe 2 minutes. You can tell when it's done, it will be warm to the touch. It also gets a little bit lighter in color and a little bit light and airy. And this is done here. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to turn my temperature off here. And we're going to slowly add all of the other ingredients. I'm going to start with, I'm going to slowly mix in the cream. Once that's well incorporated, I'll add the milk. Now that was 1 cup of sugar, 1 cup of cream, and 4 cups of milk. Really, really simple recipe. So the egg yolk, the sugar, the milk, and the cream makes the base for our gelato. It's to this base you can add a lot of different flavorings to make your gelato. Today we're going to add really good organic strawberries. Now I'm going to take these strawberries. These were picked locally by a good organic farmer just yesterday, I believe. And we're going to take a hand mixer, 2 cups of strawberries, and we're going to kind of blend them up, puree them really, really well. I don't like to leave too many chunks in there because the chunks sometimes will get a little icy if you're storing the ice cream to eat later on. So we're going to make a really good strawberry puree. You can do this in the blender. You could even mash them up with a potato masher really well if you didn't have anything else. Now we're going to take this blended strawberry puree and we're going to incorporate that into the gelato base. I'm going to get every bit of that goodness out of there. Now once we have this gelato base, it's as simple as putting it in gelato or ice cream batch freezer. The ones that you can buy at any of the local outlets are wonderful. You don't have to buy an expensive one. They have those that you just put the cylinder into the freezer and then you freeze it from there. This is mine that I use at home, and it's maybe a little bigger than the average one, but they work just about the same. So we're going to fill this about 2/3 full. And then I'll set it on freeze. And in about 15 minutes, we'll have incredible strawberry gelato.
I've never met anyone that I can remember who didn't like blueberries or blueberry muffins. Such a classic American fruit. And well, the muffins themselves, this recipe is really delicious. And I'll show you how to put it together. It's really quite easy. We're going to start with 6 tablespoons of butter. And I'm just going to take the butter and put it in here to mix up. And it's already pre-softened. And I've got 3/4 of a cup of sugar. And I'm going to take that and drop the mixer down and let it go and let that blend together. And then I'm going to add 1 egg. And these eggs are from one of our flocks of Buff Orpingtons. What I like to do is just check the egg out first. And this one looks fine. And what I'm doing is I'm dropping the egg in here, this mixture. It's coming along very well. Okay, I think this looks pretty good. Now we're going to start with the next part, which is to combine the dry ingredients. And what I'm going to start with is 2 cups of flour. Just going to put them in a bowl like this. And then I have a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And I have 2 teaspoons of baking powder here. All right, I'm going to mix all that together. What I like to do is separate these dry ingredients, and I'll show you what I mean in just a moment. So we're going to add some milk, but I'm going to do half of it at a time and mix it up together. All right, so I'm going to take half this flour mixture, And I'm going to put it over here in with the butter and the sugar, like that. And I'm going to take half the milk, and I'm going to pour the milk in, and that's a half a cup, so about a quarter of a cup of milk, and I'm going to turn this back on and let it start. The reason I do that is that it just adds to the consistency and keeps it from clumping up. I think it just blends so much better. And as it goes around, you can push sort of around the edges, pushing some things down. It looks like it's coming along very well. I'm going to stop and add the rest of the remaining flour and salt and baking powder and the milk. And let it go again. Looks like it's moving along nicely. We've been stirring it for about a minute. Now I'm going to add a teaspoon of vanilla. That adds such a nice flavor to it. And we're going to let that all get blended in together, and then I'm going to stop, and then that's when I fold in the blueberries. But I don't want to throw the blueberries in here because it would macerate them and we'd end up with a big mess. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now I'm going to clean this off. I'll clean this whisk off and get most of the batter off of it, like that. And now unhook this and make sure everything's all together, and then add the blueberries. And what I have here are, I have 1 pint or 2 cups of blueberries, nice big blueberries. They're so beautiful. And I'm just going to gently fold the batter in and around over these blueberries like this. Now we grow lots of blueberries here on the farm. I don't know how many different varieties we have now. I think it's up around 47. And it's nice to have lots of different varieties because they produce at different times. So we have some that produce early and then mid and then late in the season. So we have a nice long supply of blueberries. And some of the varieties, they actually taste different than one from the other, which is nice. But I want to make sure that I'm getting the blueberries consistently blended with the batter. I think we're getting very close. All right, yep, I think we're there. Now I'm going to take this spoon and I'm going to apportion this out into this muffin pan, and I've pre-greased it. All right, so I'm just filling in the last muffin here. This recipe makes, as you can see, a dozen. I'm going to add a little bit more to that one. All right, now you're going to bake this in a preheated oven at 375. Last thing I like to put on here is a combination of sugar and cinnamon. So it's 2 teaspoons of sugar and 1 of cinnamon. I just sprinkle a little bit of that on each one of them, like this. It's just a little zip to it. You're going to really love this recipe. They only bake for 30 minutes. Okay, now it looks like they're ready to go in. So here we go, and I've got some already underway to show you. Pull this down. Let me take these out. They're very, very hot, so be careful. I've got this next one batch to go in like that. And look at that. Aren't they beautiful? And so delicious. It's a recipe you must try. You can see it doesn't really take much time at all. Enjoy. I don't know about you, but I love the flavor of fresh raspberries. I recently got an email from Brandy in Missouri, and she said, Alan, I'd really like to grow some raspberries that I can enjoy at home. Do you have any suggestions on varieties and how I should get started? Well, actually I do, Brandy. Now you need to think about raspberries in two different camps. One is the everbearing, which produce berries really right on until the fall, and then those that only produce during the summer. Now, the other thing you need to think about, Brandy, is the varieties that may perform better for you in your part of the world. Now, in Missouri, you're not too far from where I grow my raspberries, so you would probably do well with two of the varieties that I grow. One is called Heritage and the other one's called Dorman Red. The fruits of Dorman Red are very firm, shiny, and light red in color and have a large round berry. They have a slightly tart flavor and produce plants that are vigorous and will thrive in hot weather. That's why they do so well for me. Now, you need to know that they require trestling and they'll grow very quickly. And these are only considered summer bearing. They're not going to be one of the ever-bearing varieties. Now, on the other hand, I grow Heritage raspberries, which are considered ever-bearing. They were introduced in New York. They produce vigorous upright canes like the ones here in the Willamette Valley. It's a moderate producer. It's going to produce some through the summer, but you're going to get a bump in the fall, which makes it very nice. Now, Brandy, one thing to keep in mind, when I planted my raspberries, I started with 2-year-old bare root plants, and I planted them in the end of winter. It was in March, and they did very, very well. Now, you want to make sure you get the right variety before you put a lot of work into this, so I would check with my local county extension service. They can really help you. One of my favorite desserts in the summer around here is a Blackberry Cobbler, a simple, delicious dessert. Well, not just the summer. I have to say, we freeze our blackberries and we use them in cobblers and pies throughout the entire year. Now, here at the farm, we grow lots of different varieties of blackberries, even a thornless one, which you might consider for your own garden. The fruits are really quite large. Now, what I'm doing here is I'm taking a pie crust. You can make your own, or you can buy one that's pre-made. I'm using a pre-made pie crust here, and I'm basically cutting it into 4 pieces. And I want to show you what I'm going to do with these 4 pieces of pie crust. I'm taking a 5-ounce ramekin. I've used a spray oil in there, and I'm taking the pie crust and I'm just very loosely lining it. Well, when I say loosely lining it, I mean I'm letting the crust hang over the edge like that. So we're going to fold that over. What I like is a really good crust to berry to juice ratio. So, so often cobblers don't have enough crust to suit me, but this recipe certainly does. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get all of these ready. Okay, now with the ramekin lined, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of these blackberries, and these are some that we grew last year and we froze. I'm just going to fill that almost full. Remember, they're going to create a lot of juice, so it's just about to the edge there. And then what I do is I take a couple tablespoons of sugar, or about 1.5 tablespoons really. Just going to put in the top, and then just a pinch of salt and a pinch of orange zest. Orange is your secret ingredient here. And then just a teaspoon of either orange juice, or I like to use triple sec. All right, let all that seep in there together, and then just gently fold the crusts up and over like this. Kind of pinch it, hold together. I like a really sort of wild and wacky top on them. And then you just take a little bit of butter and brush on the top of the crust, and then I like to take a little bit of that sugar and sprinkle on it, and it's ready to go into the oven. Now, in a preheated oven, 350 degrees, what you want to do is you want to leave them in there for 35 to 45 minutes, and just look at these babies. They're looking really good. Ah, there we go. And that's what they look like. You can see why I love berries so much. You can grow berries in so many different places, as we've seen in today's show. You can grow them in a garden, raised beds, even in containers on your back patio. But best of all, they're great in recipes like this. Well, that's all the time we have for today's show. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. Until next time, good eating and good health.